Hey guys, Jordan here. Today we're taking a look at the new Lian V100R Mini. This is an ATX case, the smaller brother of the V100. It's going to be available in a fanless and a fan version. So the fanless is going to be really aggressively priced at $49.99. With fans, for 120mm fans, it's just another $15, so $64.99. Really great features on this case. I'm looking forward to checking this out. Then we'll get it out of the box and we'll take a closer look. It's got an included instruction manual. Don't get why they put these in plastic, just feels like a bit of a waste. And here we have V100R Mini. Now this is going to be available just in black for the time being. Hopefully we'll see a white one later on. But there's so much to talk about on this for a £50 case, or obviously 65 if you get the fans included. So where should we start? Let's go for the top first. So on the top we have a removable panel, it just pops off like so, and then there's also some micro mesh on the back of that. Seems to be fixed as well, so it's not removable, but will stop any dust that obviously comes down on the case when you're not using it. And then we've got support for up to 3 120mm fans or a 360mm AIO. You can do two 140s there if you'd rather instead. So already off the bat, nice we can get a 360 in the roof for a smaller case. Just pop that back on. Just on push pins, nice and easy. So on the front, of course, tempered glass panel. We've also got a Lian logo at the bottom. There's also a little RGB strip that runs along the inside of the case there as well. Also just going over our front I/O, we've got two USB-A ports on the side, a Type-C headphone microphone combi jack, so that'll be 4-pole. Also a reset button and then a power switch. On the rear of the case, we've got our pre-installed 120mm fan. Obviously, if you get the non-R version, we'll have the empty space there for your own fan to add in. We have 5 expansion ports a bit further down, and then obviously our power supply access on the bottom there. There's also a little dust filter on the back to filter that fresh air that's being brought in. On the bottom, not really much to talk about. Of course, that dust filter I mentioned, and then obviously mounting points for drives and stuff that we'll cover when we get inside. And now let's get inside the case. A little thumb screw to release that side panel, and then it should just pop off. There we go, it comes at an angle. As you can see, you've got that angle built into the glass as well, which is a nice little touch. And then inside we have our 3 reverse blade fans, 3 120mm pre-installed. So reverse, so you haven't got the ugly frames. They're going to be nice and visually appealing when they're running. Also RGB and daisy chainable as well. So they're just going to use one adapter for the 5V and one adapter for the 4-pin, which is nice. We'll cover that when we get on the back. Then of course, support for mATX boards. You can also do a back to front or rear connect motherboard in there as well if you'd like to, which I think is a really good option at this kind of price point. We've also got a couple of anti-sag brackets. This one at the bottom is adjustable for height, and then we have got one on the top that you can put against your top back plate. Also worth mentioning as well, if you want to take the front piece of glass out, you can easily do that. Just slides out like so to make it easier to work on the case when you're building it. And then that just slides in like that and pops back into place. Tilting this down, we've got our accessory box. I really love that Lian include a plastic case for their screws. Let's have a little look inside. So all nicely segmented. Also got some of the rubber there, adapters for any hard drives you might want to add in. Spare thumb screws as well, nice to see those. Then of course some mounting for fans that I'll cover in a second on the PSU shroud that you can do. So I've just tilt this up here. You can add some additional fans to the bottom here. So 2 120mm fans. Now also worth noting, if you are going to put some fans there, I would limit the thickness of the graphics card you're going to use, because you may find you get some turbulence if they're too close together, or just performance doesn't actually increase at all. For example, the AP201 build I did, I added some additional fans at the bottom quite close to the graphics card. It didn't actually benefit it at all. It was actually better performing without them. So you may find that's a similar case here. Also depends on the kind of spec you run. If you're using a more mid-tier system or a more budget build, you may find that you don't need them anyway. Other things to talk about, maximum CPU tower height is 163.5, quite specific, so something to double check. And then graphics card length up to 415mm. Nothing on the market that's that size, thankfully, at the moment, so you shouldn't have any problems with graphics cards there. Now let's have a look on the back of the case to see what's going on there. So of course, perforations for the fresh air to be brought in on the side of the case. Then we have our pre-installed fans up to 1800 RPM on each of these. And then, like I said, these are on a daisy chain. So we've just got one connector. There it is, one 4-pin. And then we'll find our addressable, there we go, for those as well. So they're all daisy chained together, including the back one as well, which is really nice. So just 2 connectors for all of the power and the RGB. Really like that. Seems that the RGB strip on the front is also connected to that as well. So that's just going to be a case of setting that in the software to whatever you prefer. Then let's have a look at what we've got in terms of other cables here. So we've got our USB 3, There's our Type-C front panel all in one block. We love to see it. And then HD audio on there as well for our headphone and microphone combi jack, 5V and the 4-pin. So very minimal in terms of cables, which we do love, especially for beginners or people doing a budget build. It makes things nice and easy. Then we've got loads of cable tie points going around the case, so you can easily route your cables around. Of course, the back to front ones will just come straight out and plug straight in. But these cables are also very flexible, so if you are using a Type-C, say on the back of the motherboard that's going to come out, you're going to have plenty of clearance for your back panel to close without the connectors being squashed. Same for the USB-A's there as well. Going down a little bit for the power supply and basement portion, like I mentioned, you do have hard drive support in the bottom here. You can see we've got a 2.5-inch plate there as well. Just an easy, quick remove with a screw. Oh, lost that screw, not a captive one, clearly. And then you can put a 2.5-inch drive on there. For the bottom storage with the grommets, you could do two 2.5-inch drives, or you can do one 3.5-inch and one 2.5-inch. And you've got the additional 2.5-inch slate as well. In terms of power supply support, if you do use some of the grommets for the hard drives at the top here, you will be limited to 150mm power supply, but most of them are that kind of length anyway, so you shouldn't really have too many problems. But of course, if you're not using any hard drives or any of the mounting at the bottom, you've got all of this space to play with, which is quite a lot of room, especially as you can tuck some more cables down in the front if you'd like to as well. So as a look around the Vector V100R Mini, pretty impressed for the price. I really do like what they're doing, especially the more budget aspect of Lian stuff. It's really solidly built, yet a really good price. Daisy chain fans as well, really nice bonus, especially for people that are beginning to do their own builds, starting their own builds and things like that. Makes things nice and easy, especially for cable management. We've also got that little pocket in the front you can tuck cables in, will be quite useful for some people. And one thing I do want to note though is that the space between the power supply, dust filter and the feet isn't that much, so I'd recommend you put this on a hard surface, because mouse pads are a bit spongy and that also limits the amount of air that's going to get to that power supply. But otherwise, it looks good. Now, another thing, I'm fortunate I have an mATX test system to actually test this thermally, but we will be doing a build with this at some point. Problem is we've got all the RAM issues at the moment, so it will be a little while, but bear with me, and as soon as prices come down, we could always look at doing something with DDR4, maybe, yeah, something like 12 gen or something like that. Budget system, then of course that gets around the whole DDR5 issue. But let me know what kind of spec you'd like to see. I'll leave links in the description box if you want to pick one up. Big thank you to Lian for sending this out for me to look at. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please get subscribed and ding the bell if you did, and I'll see you all in the next one.